On the road again, I can't wait to get on the road again. Hey y'all, now you know why I kept my day job, right? I can't sing worth spit. I'm just making a road run up to Rexburg, about 30 miles to the north, during work, and I thought, it'd be a great way to spend the half hour making some more videos. And, of course, I'm on this evolution kick right now, this evolution and scientific creationism and so on and so forth. And I've discovered something. That I want to share with you that is extremely interesting. In Douglas Dennett's very excellent book, Darwin's Dangerous Idea, he is exploring the fullest implications of Darwin's dangerous idea. And he's using various subtle means and quotes and references and ideas to teach us irrational, caveman thinking type of God believers how to think rationally and how to grow up and get rid of our fuzzy little warm blanket and our pacifier and sucking our thumbs and having our baby teddy bear and maturing in our thought and getting rid of our fairy tale beliefs and Santa Claus and God and things like that. And the scientists, it appears to me now, especially the atheistic ones, are especially exercised at trying to get us to think rationally. There's some kind of a meaning to being rational as opposed to being irrational, you see. They're trying to enlighten us against our dark, superstitious beliefs and ways and means. Dennett on page 181 quotes from Hilary Putnam and R.J. Hollingdale. Here's Putnam's idea. Science is wonderful at destroying metaphysical answers, but incapable of providing substitute ones. Science takes away foundations without providing a replacement. Whether we want to be there or not, science has put us in a position of having to live without foundations. It was shocking when Nietzsche said this, but today it's commonplace. Our historical position, and there's no end in sight, is that of having to philosophize without foundations. You see, Darwinian evolution has taken away all of our foundations of life, including the very foundation of meaning and purpose. What the scholars, the scientists call teleology. There is no point and purpose. There is no direction of life. It's all just a bunch of meaningless much ado about absolutely nothing. Hollingdale, he says, the sense that the meaning of the universe had evaporated was what seemed to escape those who welcomed Darwin as a benefactor of humankind. Nietzsche considered that evolution presented a correct picture of the world, but that it was a disastrous picture. His philosophy was an attempt to produce a new world picture which took Darwinism into account, but was not nullified by it. Dennett's magnificent 600-page book is an analysis of Darwin's dangerous idea. Before I share my insight into what I've figured out, though, Ken R. Miller, again, Finding Darwin's God, a scientist's search for common ground between God and evolution. On page 269, he says this, at least a few of my learned colleagues in evolutionary biology are fond of saying that evolution does have something profound to tell us about the meaning of life, which is that it does not have one. Douglas Futuyma comments along these lines are typical. Some shrink from the conclusion that the human species was not designed, has no purpose, and is the product of mere mechanical mechanisms. But this seems to be the message of evolution. Now, Ken Miller's analysis of this is extremely interesting. As heartfelt as such bleak pronouncements may be, they occupy a curious position on the landscape of scientific logic. The strength of science, we are told, is the impartial objectivity it applies to nature. And of course, we are part of nature. Questions about good and evil, about the meaning and the purpose of existence, the sorts of things that have busied philosophers since ancient times, these have no place in science, because they cannot be addressed by the scientific method. By what logic, then, do so many invoke science when they presume to lecture on the pointlessness of existence? Something's not quite right. It's interesting, isn't it? Apparently, it's fine to take a long, hard look at the world and assume scientific authority to say that life has no meaning, because that's what they're doing. But I suspect I would be accused of anti-scientific heresy if I were to do the converse and claim that on the basis of science, I have detected a purpose to life, a purpose to existence. See, the concept of purpose, my colleagues would be quick to remind me, stands outside of science. And I agree. But if it does, then so does its exact opposite, that the human species has no purpose, which is the claim made by so many atheists and Darwinian evolutionists these days. Dennett spends 600 pages trying to get us out of our fairy tale belief of this idea that life has purpose, that we should grow up and quit being so childish in our beliefs and thinking. Isn't it fascinating that all of this purposelessness of life, this theme that we can't possibly have any point and meaning, isn't it fascinating that the irrationality of believing that is being attacked all the while by Dennett, say for instance, him and Richard Dawkins, they spend thousands of pages of writing to share a purpose. And what is their purpose? To enlighten us, to convince us that there is no purpose to anything. That's the purpose of their writings. Isn't that fascinating? That they would propose that all of the universe is purposeless. Our life has no meaning. However, the very idea of the meaningless of life gives their lives meaning in order to enlighten us with all of their fantastic writings about its meaninglessness. Such deep irony is hard to come by. What makes it even more especially poignant, in my opinion, is the utter brilliance of their minds. I mean, Daniel C. Dennett has so much information and ideas. He obviously set goals. He had a purpose in writing his book, Darwin's Dangerous Idea, 600 pages. He has many different types of evidences and ideas that he had to have read through and culled and picked and chosen and organized. I mean, it gave him a purpose of writing that book. His purpose was to write the book, so that he could say how purposeless all of this is thanks to Darwin's evolution. And he obviously had reasons to wake up in the morning and work on his typewriter or his computer processor so that he could enlighten us about how valueless everything is. That is so ironic that his life has meaning and purpose. I mean, you ought to read some of the rave reviews about his book. It's incredible how many people praised him. And obviously, he has great brains. He's able to show that off in his writings. He's able to have prestige and power. I mean, he makes money off the purposeful explanation that life is purposeless. He has tenure. He has clout. He has great respect and esteem among his colleagues, him and Richard Dawkins. And yet, there is no God. Evolution is just mindless, purposeless, and there's no point to any of this. That is deeply ironic, because in the process of spending their lives with a purpose, trying to teach that there is no purpose, they gain great meaning It's valuable to them. It does have value, which has meaning. They get to travel the world over giving lectures and getting paid for it. They get to write articles for scientific journals and produce several vast books and maybe even make films and documentaries and movies about it all.